So how do we apply this parable to our lives today? I think it's safe to say that nobody here has ever gotten 20 years of wages in one lump sum, or 40 years of wages, or 100 years of wages in one lump sum, and we're told, yeah, do something with it, make a profit. That hasn't happened to us. And none of us would think that 20 years wages, 40 years wages, or 100 years wages is something small. But when you think about it, what God has given us is actually much more valuable. The talent that God has given us, the talents that God expects us to put to work to produce fruit for Him, is the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit does stuff. The Holy Spirit doesn't just sit still. And every born-again follower of Jesus has a different measure of the Holy Spirit, a different measure of the gifts of the Spirit within us. If it seems like someone has more gifts of the Spirit than you do, you might be right. The person sitting next to you might have more gifts of the Spirit. But so what? Take the gift that you have, take what you have been given, and put it to work. So how do we do that? What does that look like? We are to be faithful as we wait for our Master to return. That means Jesus can rely on us to do the work that He's called us to do. And that means we can trust that God will give us the resources that we need to do that work. Now, even the third servant provides us with some useful information in this parable. We learned from what the Master said to the third servant that there is a minimum expectation. Now, I'm not saying here, aim for the minimum. I'm not saying, let's just do the least that you can do, but what I am saying is that something is better than nothing. So what is the minimum that we could do with what God has given us? The minimum includes developing our personal spiritual growth, putting in the work every day to get to know Jesus better, and getting out of the Holy Spirit's way as He works to make us more like Jesus. The minimum would be to support your local church with your time and with your finances. This church right here is not a franchise that was purchased and operated by some rich guy. It's a grassroots organization that's supposed to minister to the community as best as we can, using what we've been given. We are to be a light in our community, and Jesus said, don't hide your light under a basket. The minimum would be to support other ministries. Can you contribute to a fund drive for a local Christian radio station? Can you volunteer at a recovery ministry like some of the people in this congregation do? Can you support other local Christian ministries that help our community, either with your time or with your donations? Can you support missionaries with your finances and with your prayers? These are things that we should want to do if the Holy Spirit is truly dwelling within us. The first two servants were eager to do the work that was left for them, and their profit margin shows that they really put in some effort. The third servant was afraid to fail. He was afraid of how he thought his master would react if he failed. Ironically, he failed anyways. The third servant in this parable should be a warning for Christians in the church today. Playing it safe is the same as lacking faith. The third servant did not understand that meeting his master's expectations involved some level of risk. There were going to be times where things didn't work out the way he wanted. The third servant didn't believe that he'd been trusted with enough resources to accomplish what the master expected. What did Jesus tell His disciples at the end of the Last Supper? In John chapter 16, verse 33, Jesus says, "Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world." Things are going to get tough at times. Life's not going to be easy. It's going to seem like the world is against us. That doesn't mean that we don't try anyways.